But then I have always been prone to migraines, but I went from having maybe a migraine or two a month seriously, and physical health was seriously being affected by my lack of sleep. And so first and foremost, part of me finding balance was getting enough sleep in the day. And then also eating right, because I wasn't eating right. I was basically living off of sugar. I found out I was eating a bunch of sweets and candy, and I just wasn't eating right at all, which was also affecting my mental health. And so by really making the time to get sleep and eating right was the start for me of finding some sort of work-life balance. And I was really kind of forced to do it because otherwise I just couldn't function. My migraines were so bad. So I'm going to stop talking now. I just wanted to share a little bit of my personal journey and why this topic is so important to me. Because it's really changed my life over the past, I would say 3 to 4 years. I've been constantly working on finding balance. But the first question I had for you, and I've kind of touched on it a little bit, but everyone talks about finding work-life balance, but is it really possible? Is there like this, balance that you're like, okay, I've achieved balance and now I'm good, Like, is it the same for everyone? Like, talk about life balance and what is it really?
Mhm. Yeah, I think you're right on by saying everyone is different, right? And I would say for most of us, balance is not really achievable because balance is talking about this perfect state, right? Where I have enough time to work, I have enough time to take care of myself, I have enough time for friends and family, and everything is equal, right? That's to me what balance means is everything is getting in equal times or equal effort. That's not real. Most of us cannot do that. And so the stress to try and achieve balance adds stress, right? To try and have this perfect balance, that's not doable. And so I like a lot of people use the term work-life integration. I like the idea of every day doing an assessment and figuring out what do I need? How do I want to spend my day? How do I want to spend my week, my month? Right? To figure out how can I integrate my work, but also my life. And life may mean a lot of different things to people, the way they want to spend their time outside of work. Um, but I do like that idea of not thinking of it as a balance because that is just near impossible to do.
I love that. I love work-life integration. I haven't heard that phrase before, and it almost, it makes it a little easier because you're right, there's so much pressure to finding balance versus if you're just like, okay, how am I going to integrate this today? Which I will tell you, something that made a huge difference with me was the realization that you can't do everything 100%. Because growing up, I was always taught of like, you give everything 100%. And so growing up, it's like, I was like, okay, well, I can be, a business owner 100%. I can be an actress 100%. I can be a wife 100%. I can be a sister 100%, a daughter 100%, an aunt 100%. And the realization, I feel like I was running myself into the ground trying 100% to everything when it's
Right.
not possible. And
And then your body wants you to be 100% with it, right? You mentioned sleep and eating healthy. And so if we're giving 100% in everything else, then we also have to give 100% in our body. Again, not possible, right?
no, it's not possible at all. And I think it, and that's where that word integration actually is so helpful because it's almost like a math problem of like, okay, if I'm going to give, if there's 100% of a day, and if I'm going to give 50% of my day to work day, I'm going to give 20% to, to my family today. And just kind of being understanding with yourself of like, you only have so much time in a day and trying to do all of things. How can you break that up? Because I guess one thing that I struggled with, and this is where it affected my mental health, was I was beginning to feel like I was failing everyone. Like
Right.
I was constantly letting people down. I was constantly failing everyone because I just couldn't do it all. I couldn't be 100% to everyone and with everything. And realizing that and giving myself grace with the fact of like, okay, I can't give 100%. Then I actually became more understanding with myself. Uh,
Mhm.
okay, well, instead of kind of really being hard on myself of like what I can't give, the question became, what can I give? What can
Mhm.
I? And so, I mean, what's your thoughts to that? And sorry, I'm like really rambling on this chat because I'm so passionate.
No, but right. I think it's important. I think, one of my closest friends said something and it has stuck with me, and I bring it up so much. She talked about how we're constantly juggling balls, but some of those balls are glass balls and some of them are bouncy balls. And you have to know that you can let go of some of those balls because they're bouncy ball, they're going to bounce back to you at some point, but there are glass balls that we cannot let go of. And that's why I talk about every day we have to figure out what are those glass balls today? What are the things, I mean, personally, I will think of what are the things that are due tomorrow that I absolutely have to do and give my attention to. It's a glass ball. If I don't get it done, it'll break and there's a consequence. And what are the things that are bouncy balls, right? That I can say, I can't do that today, but that's okay. It'll bounce back and it'll come back to my life. And to me, that's really helpful to think of things that way, of what are the things that are immediate, and then what are the things that I can put on hold. And sometimes the immediate may be work, but sometimes the immediate may be my health, the immediate may be my family, the immediate may be my friends, and it depends on the day to day.
You know what? I love that analogy, and that's going to stick with me as well. And I'm already seeing in the comment section here, several people love this analogy. Teresa loves this analogy. And I'll give one example. For me, this is one thing I've had to learn, is that if I don't get enough sleep, eventually over time, I guess my glass ball, my mental and physical health will break. Like my body needs sleep. And so I've had to learn to say no to, let's say, going out with friends. I get to travel a lot and I get to go to a lot of conventions, and I love it and I have so much fun. But it's also a lot of work and it can be very tiring at the end of the day. And I feel so fortunate that in a lot of cities, I know a lot of people, and they're like, "Well, let's go out at night. Let's go to dinner, and let's go hang,
Mhm.
let's go see a movie." And unfortunately, most of the time, I have to say no because I have to go and get sleep. I have to make sure I have to go get sleep so I can wake up and do it again the next day. And sometimes for me, with my mental health, and I've learned, and this is some advice I've given, is learning to say no, because I always felt so guilty and I wanted to be everything to everyone. And I felt that if I told this friend no, it might hurt their feelings, and would they still be my friend? But I've learned that if they're a true friend, they're like a bouncy ball, right?
Mhm.
They'll understand. They'll say, okay, well, no, I completely understand you have to get your sleep. You know what? Let's find another time to hang out. And
Mhm.
that's a great analogy because I never looked at it that way. But prior to learning these lessons, I just ran my physical and mental health into the ground because I was too scared to say no. And I was just trying to do everything, and I couldn't. Um, so that kind of leads me to my next question, because learning balance, or integrating everything into your life, means having to set some boundaries. And kind of like the example I just shared of learning to set the boundaries of, okay, what can I do and what can't I do to keep up with my schedule? So why are boundaries important?
I think for the perfect example you shared, a lot of the times there are things we want to say yes to, and we want to give our all. And then our bodies just end up telling us no. And it's why, my job as a psychologist, I work in a medical clinic. I work in primary care because we all do this where we work so hard and then we have migraines or we have some other kind of pain and your body just tells you it's enough. And so we have to learn to set limits so that we're taking care of our physical health so that then we can give our best with everything that we've got going on and also take care of our mental health. And so again, every day we have to decide how am I going to spend my time today? And every day may look different.
Absolutely. And everyone's agreeing with us here about boundaries. I'm doing my best to try to read everyone's comments as well. Let's talk about boundaries in kids, because this is also something that we need to teach as well.
Mhm.
Kids need boundaries. And especially right now, I mean, I'm going to be frank, and I know this is something that you know better than everyone and you're dealing with day in and day out, but just kids are going through a really hard time right now. I mean, this was, uh, you know, mental health for kids has been a crisis prior to COVID, and it's more of a crisis now. Um, so, talk about setting boundaries with kids and how this can help kids.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this is important. Like you said, we have to teach it. So, one, the adults have to model it. If we set boundaries and our kids watch us do it, they're going to learn to do it too. But also, I think unfortunately kids may have a little bit less control of their day-to-day life. Teens and middle schoolers and even elementary schools, a lot of the adults are deciding how they spend their day, right? And so there's kind of this lack of control in how they're spending their time sometimes. There's also this pressure of performing well in school, after school activities, friendships, being there for your family, your chores at home. And so I often see kids that do hit that limit, that kind of just do what you were describing, right? Push, 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 try to give 100% everywhere, and then their body says that's enough. Um, and so being able to help kids find those boundaries. Okay, you're not sleeping enough, or maybe you have to do one less after school activity, or what do you really value versus what are you doing because you think you have to do, right? And then being able to uh, just assess and look at your choices more critically and figure out what do I really want to be spending my time in and what can I get rid of so that I don't feel so spread thin.
Can I just throw something out into the universe for a second? I was talking to one of my nieces, and we were talking about sleep because I was shocked to find out how much she had on her plate. She's in high school, how much she had on her plate, and some nights how she wasn't getting enough sleep. And I know kids today have so much on their plates, um, and so much homework. There is
Mhm.
like there's always more and more and more. I wish that there was homework for getting enough sleep for kids. Like I wish there was a check-in where if teachers
Yeah.
would understand, and I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like literally a homework assignment or just a check-in or a chart, but especially some teenage and college age students are just not getting enough sleep.
Mhm.
And I don't think
Yeah.
anyone realizes how important sleep is to our mental health. And so that's just my wish. They say I talk about throwing your wishes and dreams out into the universe. And so
Yeah.
I wish that was a homework assignment.
Mhm. No, it's true. And you have kids that, have the added responsibility of maybe having to hold a job to support the family too. And so they're balancing going to school, going to work, having to do their homework when they get home at like 10 o'clock at night. So sleep is the first thing to go out the door because there's just not enough hours in the day. Um, but it's hard because if you continue going at that pace and not getting sleep, at some point your body gives up and then you can't work and then you can't do school. And so that's what we talk about in therapy, is that I understand that you don't have enough hours of the day and that you have a lot of responsibilities. The reality is that if you're not well, you're not going to be able to do those responsibilities anyway. So what can we do so that we help you stay healthy so that you can continue to do the things that you have to do? Um, and so that does mean that sometimes we have to take something away so that sleep can be prioritized, or physical health can be prioritized.
Absolutely. And I want to stress, going back to the beginning of our chat, it is different for everyone. I mean, you know, how I see my husband handles stress and mental health is very different than my needs. Um,
Mhm.
I think understanding what works for you um, is very important. You know, it's been a journey for me to understand what balance and integration looks like for me. But let's talk about families now, because I feel so fortunate tonight. I get to go to dinner with my family. My sister's visiting from out of town, and so we get to all be together. And it's something
Mhm.
that happen with everyone's busy schedules. So when everyone's so busy, how can the family find time, you know, to come together
Mhm.
and find that balance?
Yeah. I think one of the things I see work most is scheduled habits, right? If we say every Sunday is family time, and we protect that in the same way we would protect a work meeting, that is so helpful because then we all know our schedule is cleared for that day. It becomes a habit. It becomes just something you do, and you protect that time for your family. Um, it's helpful for getting together kind of the larger family, but it's also helpful too if you do daily habits and schedules for your family that you live with, right? So, for example, for me, my protected time, absolutely, I will not ever miss it, is putting my little one to bed. That's the time when it's just her and I. She's only 2, so we'll read a book together. We'll cuddle. She'll tell me about her day in her 2-year-old language. But that is something that for me right now, and again, it may change in the future, is my protected time. I know colleagues will make their protected time walking their child to the bus, right? So whatever that may be I make sure that nothing is scheduled around that time so we can have those 10 to 15 minutes.
I could not agree with you more. For me and my husband, it became watching our favorite TV shows, and it wasn't necessarily always a set time every day, but it was a set series. So we needed to make sure, okay, we have to watch this episode together so we can watch the next one. Um,
Mhm.
it was our time together, and
Mhm.
interrupted that. So I couldn't agree with you more, and it's been very, very important to us. That's our fun time, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about, because when I was working so hard, I sometimes forgot to have fun. You know,
Mhm.
so serious, and everything was so serious. The stakes were so high. Problems were
Yeah.
big. It just, I forgot how to relax and have fun. I couldn't just put my phone down and just forget about work and have a conversation with a friend, or or family member. So what do you do if you are so busy and stressed and working so much that you don't know how to relax and have fun?
Yeah. You may show up to that fun time, but you can't be there. Um, that's why the conversation on mindfulness has become more and more popular, because what mindfulness is being mindful of the present moment, being here in the now. What is happening around me? What are people saying? What am I doing? What do I hear, see, feel? And a part of that is just getting yourself out of your head. Because if we sit with our thoughts of, oh my gosh, I have all these things due. I have these tests to study for, or this deadline coming up at work. And we're not going to enjoy the present moment. We're doing time traveling, right? We're thinking about the future. We're thinking about the past. We're not in the now. And so that's where that mindfulness is so important. I also think that being able to organize your to-do list for the day can be really helpful too, because we're always going to have a lot of work. Work is always going to be there. It's never going to end, right? You finish today's to-do list and there's more to do. I have found personally that if I categorize my to-do list and what is immediately due, and I mentioned this earlier, what's like that glass ball, what do I have to do by tomorrow versus what do I have time with? Then I can take the evening off without worrying. Because if I know that I finish everything that's immediately due, then I can give myself a break, and that felt good. But if I get to 5 o'clock and I still have three things that are due tomorrow, I know that after the baby goes to sleep, I'm going to do a little bit more work that night, because if not, I'm going to be stressing. And that's why I say it always changes. There are days that you can take that break and really be mindful and in the moment because you know that you finished what you needed to. And there are other days that you didn't get to it and you have to devote a little bit more time to work. And that's okay as long as it's not happening every single day.
Yeah. And that was a lesson that I've learned as well, is there's going to be those days where you just have to power through, and you've got a lot on your plate and they're all glass balls and the deadline is tomorrow and you have no choice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have those days where I only get four, I'm lucky if I get 4 to 5 hours of sleep, but I don't do it every single day now. It's like, okay, I can do a day or two here, but then I got to catch up. I got to take care of myself. So yes,
Yeah.
ending of like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's also okay that not every single day is going to be this perfect balance, that every day is different.
Mm-hmm.
Making a list
Right.
is so helpful. Um,
Right.
can I tell you one thing I do? And this, as silly as it is, it really helped me when I was just so stressed, but trying to find some balance. Um, After a long day of work, I would drive home and just blare Disney songs, like as loud as they could be. And I would sing at the top of my lungs. Like I would sing Let It Go from Frozen. I would sing, How Far I'll Go from Moana. All of my favorite songs, I would just sing at the top of my lungs. And then when I wasn't driving, um, I would dance it out. So I
Mhm.
talked about this a lot, but I have a favorite song by the band Jimmy Eat World. It's called The Middle. And if you haven't heard it, everyone go listen to it. It's so inspiring. But I will play that and just dance it out. Just have a dance party in my living room. I don't care how silly I look. I don't care who's watching, but it
Yeah.
really helps me just kind of come back to the present, to your point.
Mhm. Yeah. It's almost, I mean, we know that sometimes I call them habits. We can call them rituals too, of like at the end of the day, what's my ritual to go from work brain to relax brain? And singing, dancing, that's a perfect way to, okay, I'm now transferring over to my relaxation brain. And I love that.
Well, yeah, it's a way to just kind of like the stress just melts off. Um, and I know I see some people agree with us here. Well, I can't believe this. The time has flown by. I've officially gone over 30 minutes, and I just have one last question, and I'm gonna make this kind of broad because the question I had was, how can we be the best role model for the kids in our life? Whether they're your own children, or for me, I just saw my nieces and nephews yesterday. And I think kids right now, they're learning, and I think we get that we have to teach them these skills and these boundaries, and how to manage stress, and all of the things. So how can we be the best role model for kids? But then I'm also going to broaden this and say for each other, because it might not
Yeah.
be a kid, it might be a friend in your life, it might be a coworker. I think everyone needs support right now. I this is my personal opinion, but I don't think there's a single person that is untouched from the past 2 years of COVID. I think it
Mhm.
affected
Mhm.
everyone in some way. Um, That's my opinion. And so I think we all need support and help right now. So how can we be the best role models and finding that work life integration?
Mhm. I think talking about it. My favorite teams that I've ever worked with are the groups that acknowledge that we're humans first, right? And as humans, we will feel emotions. We will feel stress. We all need sleep. We all need to relax. And so acknowledging and talking about it, whether it's at the start of a meeting, at the end of the meeting, or at the end of the week, that's what the On Our Sleeves team does. We end our Friday meetings by talking about how we're taking care of our mental health that weekend. And so having those conversations at work and not making it taboo or stigmatized to share how you're feeling is important. And I have found that even it takes just one person sharing, I'm feeling stressed or I did this for my mental health, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, me too, right? Just that normalizing it. And same thing with our children in the home. We try to shield them from stress or not talk about what we're going through as adults. But then they're not learning from us. So yes, share at a right developmental level. We don't want to overshare, but it's okay to come home and say, "Man, today was stressful, so I'm going to sing 'Let It Go' and dance around. Do you want to join me?" Right? So that they learn that yeah, sometimes days are going to be stressful, but there's things we can do about it.
Absolutely. Um, oh my gosh, I had a thought and it just flew out of my brain. These are live chats. Um, what happens live? Um, oh goodness. I had one last thing to share. Well, I it's officially out of my brain, sadly. Um, but a lot of people are asking. I will post this to my feed, so you can go back and watch it later. And I just remembered. That's why I was kind of stalling. Um, now, I, Dr. Ariana, it definitely needs to be a trusted person, and hopefully there's someone trusted in in your lives that you feel that you can talk.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I was running her universe, and we've just had such an amazing team of people that would help me run her universe day to day. I really tried to make it a safe space where
Mhm.
hopefully, team members, and not just her universe, but friends and family, would just be honest. And
Mhm.
I've actually found that as long as you feel that it's a trusted space, if you can just be honest with how you're feeling, that can be scary because you're like, well, that person will never understand that I'm just, I'm really struggling with my mental health today, and that's why I wasn't my best in this meeting, or it's. But I always try to say, look, there's no problem that we can't get through together. So just be honest. Um, be honest with me, and I promise we'll do what it takes to help. And I think, you know, I would encourage, if you feel that it's a safe space, just to be honest with how you're feeling. I think you'd be surprised how understanding people are right now. And we still have a long way to go, and that's why we're breaking stigmas with mental health. But what do you have to say about kind of being timid about sharing how you're truly feeling?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's another perfect example where it's different for everyone, right? You may have work environments where a person will absolutely be like, nope, it is not safe for me to share. It will not go well. And that's where it's great to find coworkers or people outside of work to talk with and be there for you. But for the people that do feel like, no, there is an environment where there won't be a repercussion if I share something. Maybe it's not in the meeting, like I mentioned earlier, but maybe it's a one-on-one. You reach out to one person and you have that conversation because, like you said, most of the time people will be a lot nicer than we expect them to be. That's something I had to go through in grad school. The environment in grad school is so quick and you have to be on it and perfect and almost like, why are you taking time for self-care, right? And I got to a point my fourth year where I had to speak up, and I did do it in a one-on-one and say, look, I need a break. I'm not okay. And I was surprised that not only did I get my break, but I was praised for setting that boundary, and good job asking for that break, right? And so I think sometimes we just have to be a little bit brave and find that person that will support us.
Absolutely. And sometimes if we don't know what the problem is, we can't adequately help it. So that's where I always stress of like, look, this is a safe space. Tell me what it is. But I need to know what the problem is. And even sometimes it's, you know, a mistake. Sometimes we have a lot of stress because we've made a mistake. But it's like, okay, if it's a mistake, we can handle that. We can fix it. But we need to know what it is, before we can fix it. And so I do encourage, you know, everyone, hopefully there is a safe space, and everyone that's watching, or encourage safe spaces if you have the chance to, in your circles, because I do encourage that in my circles of like, look, it's a safe space, but be honest with me, tell me what's really going on. Well, I've gone way over, and I could still chat with you, Dr. Ariana, for another 30 minutes. So thank you. Thank you for your wisdom, your answers, and thank you for all of your important work.
Thanks for hosting us. Glad we could finally make them happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, like I said, I will post this to my feed. But if you want more information, Dr. Ariana has been very busy with the Honor Sleeves team. So go to honorsleeves.org. It's a free resource for children's mental health. But I like to say it's a resource for everyone. I cannot even begin to tell you the help that it's provided me and my family personally. So go check out honorsleeves.org, and Honor Sleeves on Instagram. So check that out as well. And we'll be back next month with another chat. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Ariana. And thank you all for watching today. I hope you have an amazing week. And I hope this week you will find that work-life integration, and work on that this week. And